Well, g'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. We've got a bit of a special episode today. This is our Cape York wrap up. So why don't you go and get yourself a cold drink and get your feet up for the next 20-30 minutes or so. I think that'll be long enough, yeah?
I think so.
Somewhere around there, and come and join us as we talk about everything Cape York. Well, today's episode, as we said, is all about our Cape York trip that we just went on. We went in the month of September and a little bit into October. Great time of year to be up there, I can assure you of that. But in today's episode, we thought we'd discuss our entire adventure. So we're going to talk to you about how we planned for the trip, what we think are your 5 must-have items when you go up to Cape York. We're going to talk to you about, of course, all of the costs, because it can be quite expensive, even just for a couple. And we really stretched the budget, didn't we?
We were pretty thrifty, yes, but
yeah.
We did have a few little treats, but it costs, so.
It does. So it's certainly something to think about is the cost of that. We'll talk to you about any damages that we might have got to the car or caravan. And of course, we're going to answer all of your Cape York questions that you go. So we're going to answer some of them, because we put out in our socials over the last month or two, ask us questions about Cape York, things that you might want to know. We thought we might have got 2 or 3 questions. We ended up getting about bloody 30 or 40 questions.
Oh,
so we've narrowed that down to just maybe the top 3, because a lot of them are pretty much the same. So I'll get to those as we get towards the end, but kick back and enjoy. Well, first things first, I suppose, this is what planning for it. How did we plan for the trip?
I don't know. How did we plan, Stephen? I usually leave all the planning to Steve.
She does. Look, I use a lot of apps. So when we decide we want to go somewhere, in this case we're going to Cape York, maybe I should jump in right now and just say that when we started the trip, everything we talk about today, we started from Mareeba and we finished in Mareeba. So I'm going to drop in some figures as we go through, and I'll just talk about how many kilometres we've done and those sorts of things throughout the entire trip. But to give you an idea of how we costed, or how our costings go for today, or how our trip was planned for today, it all started in Mareeba and it all ended in Mareeba at Ringer's Rest.
Yes.
Which was a really good base, and I'll start right there.
Yeah, because it was a good base.
It was a great base. If you haven't seen that episode, I'm going to drop a link in right now so you can have a look at Ringer's Rest and Mareeba, because they are a great series of episodes. But the beautiful thing, or the great thing about Mareeba, is you've still got availability to major supermarkets, and you've got availability to all the shops, mechanics, tyre fitters, any of those sorts of things you need.
All the variety of fuel stations.
Yeah, so we certainly use that as a good base. Make sure our gear was ready to go, so it was, it was out, it was clean, it was serviceable. It was those sorts of things, as we try and keep it all the time when we're travelling. But when you're going to the Cape, or you're going a bit remote like that, you just want to make sure your gear's just that little bit better than what it normally is, just to make sure that it's going to get through for you. And if you do notice there's something wrong, then you've still got an opportunity to go and buy it or repair it before you leave. Watched our channel before, but we're full time on the road. So a lot of our planning generally happens like the week before. But for the Cape, we knew we were going to the Cape, or we planned to go to the Cape this September, or September just passed.
Yes.
So as a part of that planning, we decided that we would start to look at a few things. And to be very honest with you, the only thing I looked at was caravan storage. That was the only thing I looked at, just in case we decided we didn't want to take the van. And as much as we planned, and that wasn't a lot, but as much as we planned, we still hadn't made a decision until we got up 3/4 of the way up the Cape as to whether or not we're going to take the van all the way to the very top. And that's a good thing about having a fluid plan, is it can change. So we don't tend to book a lot of things in, do we?
No, we try to free camp, so...
Yeah, we try to free camp, and we try not to meet deadlines and those sorts of things, and we know that a lot of people do, because you might be away for your school holidays or your annual leave for the course of the year, or on a bit of long service leave and your timeline's tight. We understand that totally, but we try and keep it, as I said, we try and keep it fluid. Yes. We try to keep that end goal, pushing towards that end goal where we're going to get to, but we're willing to change all the way along, and we certainly do that with that. So the way we do it is through apps, as I've said about 6 times by now.
Yes,
so we use things like wiki camps, because we want to look at campsites.
Yep.
We'll talk about campsites in a second, or the ones that we stayed at when we went up onto the Cape. We look at where the fuel is, so we use Fuel Map for that. And that was pretty good up there.
It was very handy.
It was very handy, and it was reasonably accurate because so many people are using the few garages, if you like, or stations, if you like, for fuel. Then obviously they're updated quite regularly. So we found the fuel price was quite accurate for what we're finding on Fuel Map.
Yes, it was.
So that was quite good. The other ones that we used is obviously windy. We use that because we're thinking about tailwinds. Now, one thing you don't escape when you go to the Cape is wind. It blows from the east to the west. Sorry, Al. It blows from the east to the west all the time. So you're always copping a side wind, or sometimes you're copping a headwind, depending on the direction of either the PDR or the Telegraph Road at the time.
It helps.
And of course, the other one we use is the weather app, and we use a tide. I have a Tides app as well. And the reason I have the Tides app is because from time to time we drive on the beach, and we did when we were up north. You just want to make sure that you can get onto the beach or get off the beach.
I was going to say, and not get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So. They're the ones that we use, and once we've made the decision on where we're going to go or where we'd like to go, I sit down and just to go through those apps. Number one, campsites, so through Wikicamps, and then for the route, I'm just looking at Google Maps for the best route to go. I'm looking at Windy to see which way the wind's going to direct. Am I going to be assisted by a tailwind or not? And then from there, we pretty much make the decision. There's night number one. Let's just drive there and see what happens.
That's true.
It's pretty much the way it goes, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Have you got anything you'd like to add to planning out? What do you do? Because you work on the road.
I do work on the road. So if you're going to do a bit of work, I guess you have to liaise with either your employer or your clients, depending how you work, and just let them know that you may not be contactable or out of range in certain times. We do have Starlink, which does keep us in contact most of the time, but not all of the time. No system is perfect. So, and if you're going to have big travel days, you may want to just let them know. So
yeah,
that I think that's important to keep people updated.
Yeah, it certainly is.
In the working world, just like if you were sitting in the office.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just have to excuse for a second. The bloody dog outside is barking his head off. He's all right, but he can be quite yappy, so you'll probably pick him up in the sound a bit.
Oh yes, we've got a few four-legged friends.
We do.
Us.
We do have a few at the moment. Yes. All right.
I think also just before we start, you talked about planning. I think initially we planned to actually camp our way up to the Cape York and not take the caravan. So it was a last minute decision to actually take a caravan, and a lot of people said don't do it, and then we met some people who said do it, and that's where Steve was talking about as we went along the way we kind of made the decision, yes, we will in the end, but there were places along the way that we could have stored or left our caravan. Yeah,
you can leave it at a lot of the stations. Telegraph Station let you leave it there if you've camped there, and the Bramwell Junction Roadhouse will also let you leave it out the back if you make a donation to the Royal Flying Doctor Service up there, which I think was about $25. But I mean, for us it's a little bit of suck it and see. So we just drove a little bit, and after a while you feel comfortable with it. The van was more than capable, the car was more than capable to be able to handle the trip, so up we went. We just felt more comfortable the further we went into the trip.
And we were also behind the graders were doing their last lot of grading for the season, so the roads were pretty good. So we were lucky in that respect. So we did keep going.
Yeah.
Maybe if it had been earlier in the season when they hadn't graded, we may have made a different decision. Yeah,
that's the case. So that's one thing to think about when you're planning.
Yes.
Is September is a good month because even though there's a little bit of school holidays on, it's not the peak season at the Cape. That's middle of the year, according to the lady at the Han River Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And the grader's been along for the last time before the wet season, so the roads aren't too bad. Alrighty, let's move along. 5 must-have items when you go to the Cape. 5 must-have items. All right. These aren't in any particular order, and these are only our ideas. They're not everyone's ideas. I'm going to put up the first one as good communications. Now, for us, in the car, we carry our UHF radio.
Yes.
And we've also got a couple of handhelds. They're more for us around the van when we're working. We have our mobile phones, which you don't get a lot of coverage with when you're up in the Cape. But if you've got Starlink fitted to the top of your caravan or fitted in amongst your gear, then we just go in through Starlink.
Yes.
And we're able to make Wi-Fi calls through that. And there hasn't been a place yet in any of our travels. We've had Starlink going now for 12 months, or nearly 12 months.
Nearly 12 months.
There hasn't been anywhere where we haven't been able to get communications within about 10 to 15 minutes when we've needed to.
Yes.
And the 10 to 15 minutes is pretty much Starlink booting up.
Yes.
While we wait for that to happen, and then in we go. And we were able to get coverage all over the Cape. So the other thing that I think that you need to go, and this goes with communications, is just know the emergency numbers that you might need when you're up there.
Yeah,
So
that's a good idea.
UHF, I'll drop in if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the emergency channels are 5 and 10, or 5 and 15. It's one of the two, but I'll drop them in at the bottom there.
Can't remember.
There's something I'm sure you'd find.
Oh no, they're standard.
Yeah. Obviously, AAA for police here in Australia, or emergency services here in Australia, if you can get communications that way.
Yes.
And other things you might need to know might be the local coppers in the area where you are. You might want to have a think about the Royal Flying Doctor Service if you need to contact those. Ambulance, those sorts of things. And all of this information is readily available when you get to Lakelands at the Cape.
Yeah, it was pretty good actually.
It was, yeah. They have a big display there, and they give you a lot of information about touring and staying on the Cape for your safety and the safety of other people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. Next thing, look, we didn't use this, and we've never had to use this, but you've got to have recovery gear.
Yes, I think that's another good rule of thumb for Australia in general as well.
You've got to have enough gear to get you out of the pool.
I think, yeah, you've got to be self-sufficient because you
You do.
can't rely on someone coming along to help you.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't always happen.
It doesn't. You know, we've been times where we're driving, and this isn't necessarily the Cape, but this is in a lot of instances, particularly when we go remote, we won't see anyone for like sometimes 10 hours.
I think when we were on Fraser Island, we had that when we were on the western side. We didn't see anyone. The tides come up. We didn't see anyone for ages.
No, you don't. So we always carry 4 Max Tracks with us. We've got a winch on the car. We've got obviously all of our recovery gear, snatch straps, and all the other things that we need inside, just in case we get stuck. And you just need to check that regularly. And we done that as a part of our checks before we took off from Mareeba, just to make sure that all our gear was still in good nick.
We did. He
So
did.
that was
Sorry, Steve did it all.
We do it. We work as a team. So
We do, but you did it all.
certainly
You did a
need
good job.
those sorts of things when you go up there. And as I said, touch wood, we've never had to take the Max Tracks off the car for ourselves.
No, but we have helped other people.
We have helped other people, and nor with our stat straps and our other recovery gear. The only times we've ever used it is to help other people who didn't have their own gear.
Yes.
That was pretty much it. So
yes.
That was it.
Hopefully we can continue that streak.
definitely. First aid gear. We carry plenty of first aid gear.
We do have a
So
first aid kit.
We do. We have a first aid kit here in the caravan, which we just keep in one of the cupboards. We have a first aid kit in the back of the car. And then in our day pack, we keep a little mobile first aid kit, and we also keep a snake bite kit. Do that, and be up to date with your first aid. You don't need to go and do a first aid course, but knowing things like how to treat a snake bite, how to stop some severe hemorrhage, how to
gonna say CPR?
or CPR, they're must knows. They're must knows, and you don't need to do a first aid course to do that. You can go online. You can learn how to do that. This is only my advice, not the advice of St John's Ambulance, but it certainly doesn't hurt. But if you want to go and do a course, someone in the car or within the travelling party should know how to do it. I'm a trained first aider through
You're
work.
the trained first aid. I haven't done my first aid in ages, but
So the plan
good
is
to
that it's all right if you get sick because I might be able to look after you, but yeah, I just don't get sick.
no.
So,
I do remember my old stuff, but yeah, it's changed a bit, I think.
and the last thing that I had here in our top 5, and I'll ask Alison if she wants to add anything more here, is just plenty of fuel, water, and food. Because the last thing you want to do is get stuck because you run out of food or you run out of fuel. And then find out you've got no water and food to eat while you're waiting to get recovered. So,
Or if you do get stuck, at least you know you've got enough.
yeah, and just like at the moment, because it's December at the moment, there's a big cyclone heading north. If you got stuck up there because of weather conditions, you could be cut off for a long period of time. So there's certainly something to be thinking about.
I think people got cut off at the Big Red Bash this year, so
Yeah,
that was
they did.
one of the concerns is people were running out of the essentials.
They were. All right. Do you have anything else, Elle, that you think might be a must-have for the Cape?
Cash, I think cash can be handy in to have always. Again, it's a good rule of thumb in Australia because not everyone has FPOS, or FPOS doesn't always work, as we know. Banks go down. But saying that, going to the Cape, everyone in our experience this time did take cards. They had FPOS facilities, but they did charge a credit card fee. So if you don't want to pay fees or you're mindful of your budget, just be aware of that, and cash might be king in the instance for you.
We just took a couple of $100 with us, just in low denominations and a lot of coins,
We
because
did.
you don't really get a bump into, and you only get somewhere and someone says, I haven't got change of a 50, mate. So, yeah, I think the highest denomination we took was a 20, but a lot of 10s, 5s, 1s and 2s. So.
Yeah, no, it was good to have just in case, especially when we got to the donation camps.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
can always pop a few dollars in.
And the other thing too, if you don't have a washing machine inside your caravan, or you don't want to use it when you go to the Cape because everything is red all the time, there's washing machines you use up on the Cape at a couple of the stations, and they charge you about $4 or $5.
It wasn't too bad. Yeah, I think it was
pretty reasonable. Yeah,
pretty reasonable.
It was pretty
$5 or $6.
Alrighty. The question that gets on everyone's lip: fuel. How much does it cost?
Fuel. Lots and lots of money.
It did. The most expensive part of our trip was just while Alison looks this up.
Yeah.
The most expensive part of our trip, beyond everything else, was the fuel cost.
It was. Yes, I think.
So the total bucks spent on fuel, Al?
So the total amount that we spent on fuel was $1,676.83, and the highest we paid was $2.95 when we went up. We did see it go up at that same station to $3.05 when we were coming back down.
That was at Bramwell Junction's Roadhouse.
Yes, and that was, I think, the first weekend of the school holidays. We didn't fill up at that point in time.
Yep.
And the lowest we paid was probably going up at Mareeba, $2.15, but it averaged between $2.60 to $2.90.
Yeah, so fuel wasn't cheap, but you don't expect it to be cheap when you go up there either. So it's certainly something you need to budget for. Harn River Roadhouse, from memory, was the cheapest that we found on the actual Cape itself. It was in the mid 230s. And when we got up to Sept, fuel there, if you went to the BP garage that's near the campground, they were the cheapest for fuel everywhere in that area up there.
They were $2.63, so they were the cheapest.
And they gave you a 4 cent discount if you went down the road and spent $50. The supermarket down the road.
Yeah, because it was run by the local Indigenous community, so that was the way they. It was really good, and they invited you to be part of their community in that respect. It was good.
They did, yeah. No, it was really good like that. So, the next biggest cost that we had would have been our camp fees. Now, these are our camp fees for the entire Cape. If you've watched our channel before, and we know that you do, just leads me on to something else. 78% of you are not subscribed to our channel.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Because that's all he tells me. He goes, 78% of people are not subscribed, but they watch us, so please do it. It'll save my ears.
That's right. And it costs you nothing, so jump in and get it done. All right, so camping, look, we love to free camp, and we free camped a lot. So our free camp sites, when we went up, we free camped at Laura.
Yes.
We free camped in Cowan.
Yeah.
We then we free camped at Fruitbat Falls.
We did. That was nice.
Fruitbat Falls was really nice, and as we're going along, if you haven't already seen, so I'm dropping a lot of footage of the places that we've been to, so to have a look at those. And then we had a few paid camps.
Yes.
So Bramwell Junction Roadhouse
was $30 for one night for two people, so it's $15
$15 each to stay there.
And that seemed to be everywhere you go. It was like $15 per person. They did have children and family prices. I forgot to look for children, sorry.
Yeah. Seisha was the next one that we paid at. That was also $15 each per night, so $30 per night to stay in their unpowered section.
Yes.
Beautiful campground, right on the beach. The most amazing sunsets in Seisha.
It was beautiful.
Wasn't it? And just the walk along the beach of an evening and see the locals out fishing along with all the tourists out fishing as well, and go down to the wharf, which they boast is the best wharf fishing spot in Australia. I'm not sure if it does or it is, but just a lot of people go there, and it's also the launch point to go to Thursday Island.
Yeah.
So that was all really good. And then on the way back, we paid for two campsites. We paid for the Moreton Telegraph Station,
which was $40. It was $20. It was $5 more, $20 per person per night.
The good thing about the Moreton Telegraph Station, though, is if you do stay there, and we only found this on the way back down, they'll let you store your van there for free while you go up the Cape, as long as you've paid for a night to stay there, or you've stayed there for a night and paid for that.
Yeah.
So that was really good to find out, wasn't it? And then, no, you couldn't escape it, but when we went to Weipa,
yes,
we had to pay for the campgrounds in Weipa.
The caravan park.
The caravan park. There was only one option there. What was that?
Yeah. I've got $146.45, and they did charge a credit card fee, so that is included. I think I might be missing a credit card fee in there, but
We jumped on an unpowered site for a couple of nights, and we had a little bit of trouble with our batteries, and I'll talk to you about that in a second, or soon. And so we jumped onto a powered site for the last day we were there, which was great because it allowed us to do all of our washing. We run the aircon. Alison was able to work all day. So
Yes.
I mean, for the extra, what was it, $20 to go onto the powered site?
Yeah, it wasn't.
I think from memory, it was like $45 a night to stay there, and it was $65 if you wanted power. So yeah, and the power was worth it in the end.
It was, yeah. You can see, we were having a... but the unpowered spots in the Weeper campground are all under the beautiful trees, which is lovely and near the ocean, but trees and solar don't work well together.
Don't go too well together, no.
That's the problem. If they had switched it around, because the powered sites don't really have the trees, it would have been a better... It would have worked better.
You can free camp the entire Cape if you want to. There was free camps on every part of the Cape. The reason that we went and paid for some of the sites was that so we could show you on YouTube what they look like. So I think we stayed at Bramwell Junction, but we could have free camped near Bramwell Junction.
Yep.
And we could have free camped right outside the front door or the front gate of the Moreton Telegraph Station. But we thought we'd pay for those, and that way we can put them in our YouTube videos, and it gives you guys a few more options because we know that not everybody likes to free camp. And we're going to do an episode on free camping that's coming up soon. We'll talk to you about the myths. I can't say that word. The myths that surround free camping and maybe a few stories that go around free camping because it's bloody good.
And those two places that you just mentioned, Bramwell and Telegraph, also had toilets and showers. So
they did.
And Telegraph definitely had washing machines. So if you want a bit of, a proper shower or a longer shower and to do some washing, might be
a good
worth
spot
paying
for you.
For it. Yep.
Oh yeah, and I thought I'd never say this, but Telegraph Station's also got green grass. And there comes a point when the red dirt just becomes...
It was nice to see the green grass.
It was nice, and to walk on it, it was good. Well, that's camping. In fact, we forgot one, because we stayed at Cooktown. So we done 3 nights in the donation camp at the racecourse, that was really great, wasn't it? Really nice.
Oh, no, it was really good, the Cooktown accommodation.
And we used Cooktown as a base to do the Bloomfield track and go up the old Laura Homestead, and once again I'm going to drop some links in so you can go back and see those episodes you haven't seen, because we really enjoyed that part of the trip, didn't we?
I really did actually, yeah. It was a nice part of the world.
Cooktown was going to be just a little stopover for us on the way back and end up being one of the best things that we done down there, particularly Bloomfield and the Daintree and those
I'm
places.
surprised how much there was to do in the area, and we really could have stayed a few more days, to be honest.
Definitely.
So yeah, definitely go to Cooktown.
All right, so cost. What was our cost for accommodation?
Oh gosh, sorry. So I have accommodation as $366.45.
All right, so and I think it's important to note that we're on the Cape itself, not counting Mareeba, on the Cape itself for 18 nights. So just a quick one in the head. The average is probably about $20 a night.
Okay.
It's somewhere around there. All right,
I believe him. He's good at maths.
All right. Other costs are the Jardine River Ferry.
Yes, so I popped that into the incidentals. So the Jardine River was $192. We also pre-filled one of our gas bottles in Mareeba for $25. That was the cheapest in the area. It was good. And we also had to stock up on some of the cassette toilet chemicals. And we did that in Atherton at Super Cheap, so $21. And when we were in Weeper, we did run the car through the car wash just quickly, just to get some of that red dirt off. And then, of course, back in Mareeba, we did a car wash and caravan wash. So
we did, which cost us about $50, didn't it? The car wash at Mareeba.
Just over $40, and $10 in Weeper, so about $50. So it kind of got the red dirt off, but you still need to go and give it a good clean, I think, when you get out of the area totally. So yes, so those incidentals cost $288 in total. So because not everybody wants those sorts of things. Jardine River, if you're going over to the Cape, you do need to pay, but it will vary, because if you that's taking a caravan and a car. $192.
Yeah, and the fee will change if you're just going over in your car.
Yes.
And it's free if you just go across on your feet.
Yes, if you want to.
Yeah, so if you want to walk the rest of the way.
It's a bit of a walk.
All right. Attractions, Alison. So a couple of things that we done attractions wise. We visited Thursday Island,
We did.
which required a ferry ride to get over there, which was expensive but well worth it.
$66 each way for each person.
Yeah, so
$264.
$264, but you get a great ride through the islands. The water's that turquoisey colour, beautiful blue day, wasn't it? And just, yeah, amazing
Yes.
place. And Thursday Island was, and people have told us different to this, but Thursday Island was absolutely spotless. It was beautiful. But people have told us that a few years ago it wasn't like that. But that was really nice today.
Yeah, because I think there's been a change in the people running.
Yeah.
Running the island, and has brought some wonderful changes with it that everyone's enjoying. And also to note, if you do hold, I think, concession cards, you will get a discount on the ferry price.
Yes, that's right.
So,
Except for your veterans card. They won't take it unless you're on a veterans pension. All right. And she checked. All right. So
and they do check, yes.
we've had a town tour.
Yeah, that was really good. It was $121.98 for the two of us.
Essentially, you get on a bus, he drives you around town, he tells you all about Weipa, and then he puts you onto the mine site, he tells you all about the mine.
Yep.
He gives you a cup of coffee in the middle. It's like when you go overseas, it's that mandatory break that nobody wants, but you get it anyway. And you just buy coffee from the coffee person, you can have a look around the art shop, and then you're back.
Yes.
You're done. And it's a great tour. He talks the entire time, very, very knowledgeable.
Yes.
Loves his work. So,
Yes, he does. He really enjoys it.
He was really good.
It was really good. And we also visited the croc tent.
Oh, yes.
And we bought a couple of shirts. So for us, that was $135. So we just bought, I think, almost 2 shirts each.
Yeah, you
Singlets.
bought 2, I bought 1.
Shirt, singlet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some people lining up, they were buying for every man in his door.
Oh, yeah. If you ever want to buy a business in the future, buy the croc tent.
Oh.
Because you haven't been to the tip unless you've stood at the tip and taken a photo and bought a shirt at the croc tent. That's the way, that seems to be the rule up there. And let me tell you, that croc tent is absolutely packed every day of the week that we went past there.
It was amazing.
That was great.
But if you're into fishing and you love your fishing, and I know a lot of people do, the different types of charters that you can go out and do, whether you're at the tip or in Weipa, is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's really your oyster.
One of the guys we met on the Cape, Mick, he was dying to get out on a fishing charter. He paid his money. Now, just be careful of this, because if they don't get enough, they won't go with the charter. And I think you go up there and you're going to do a fishing charter, and this is only my advice, because I didn't do one when I was up there. I'd make sure I had a group of mates to make sure that that boat was covered, because they will not come out and take you on the fishing charter. There's only 3 of you. They want to get that. Say they take 10, they want the 10. So that's something you need to be mindful of. He was very, very disappointed because he booked it quite a while in advance, but because they never got the numbers, he never went.
Other things you can do, you can go for helicopter rides.
Yeah, there's plenty of heli flights. We saw those predominantly out of Punson Bay. They go up and they do the tip. I don't know what the fee is for that. I imagine it's expensive, like any flight is. Which leads me to Punson Bay. We visited Punson Bay while we were there. We didn't stay there. We thought it was a little bit exy in price. $90 a night for a site smaller than what we had down at Seisha. Yeah, it does have a very nice beer garden, and there's some restaurants there you can get some food out. We had lunch there one day, caught up with a few friends, and just had a couple of drinks.
Yes, I think that's the beauty. It's a bit resort. It has that resorty feel, and you can socialise.
Yeah.
But the accommodation sections, talking to a couple of people, they were very close together.
But look, it's your holiday. You go and stay where you want to stay.
Yes.
Alrighty. What are we up to, Al?
So we've covered most things. Probably the last thing we haven't really touched on was, say, food, eating out, and alcohol.
Yeah.
So in that respect, so for us, we did our big shop in Mareeba, Atherton prior to leaving. So we did a really big shop, and then we only had to buy say bread or milk when we were up in Seisha. We limited what we had to do.
Yeah.
Which was a good idea. So for us, food, $407.63 in total. Eating out, $287.91.
Yeah, lunch is expensive, but it's worth it.
Yes, and that includes Punson Bay, Thursday Island.
Yeah.
And a few ice creams and whatnot when we're in Cooktown. So a total of $695.54. So really, when it comes to eating out, that's subjective. That's why I broke it up. But we did the big shop prior. And also, if you want to go to Weipa first, then to the tip, Weipa also has a Woolies. So if you want to save time, dragging up food. So that was helpful.
All right, so 250 somethings on the Cape for 18 days. How much money do we spend, Al?
In total, we spent $3,678.86.
And we think that we saw everything that we wanted to see while we were up there.
Yes, we did.
We thought, look, the Cape was fantastic. It's not something that we're going to go and do next year or the year after that. We might go back there in 4 or 5 years. Or next time we go up, we might go up with a group of people rather than do it ourselves.
I was going to say, we may do it with a friend next time.
Yeah. Having said that, we met some wonderful people that we sort of travelled with as we went along.
We did.
And we had a great time with them. So we sort of pulled into the same sorts of areas on the same nights, because your camps are all maybe, in the way that we done it and the way that a lot of people are doing it, the camps were probably about every 200 kilometres apart. So it made for an easy driving day, and it was good.
It was good, yes, definitely.
Alrighty. Your questions.
Question
All right.
time.
So we got a lot of questions, but I've narrowed it down to the top. I've got the top 4 here.
Oh, okay.
Top four. So the biggest question was this one: why didn't you do the teletrack? Why didn't we do the teletrack? Yeah?
Why didn't we do the teletrack? I don't know. Why didn't we?
We live full time on the road. Our car and our caravan. We can't take your caravan in the teletrack, as you know.
Make for interesting YouTube.
Our car and our we do. Our car and our caravan. That's our livelihood. That's our life. This is where we live and we work. And we couldn't afford to damage the vehicle when we went up there. Not to say that the Mighty Colorado couldn't have done it, because I'm sure it would have. But yeah, and the other thing was, we were travelling on our own for that portion of the thing, and you really need someone to come along with you with that. So, look, we might do it sometime in the future, maybe in a Cape visit in 3 or 4 years' time, when the car's a little older and just before we're ready to trade it. And we do it then. But for us, it wasn't a goal that we wanted to tick off our list.
I think also we'd heard the teletrack, like gunshot and stuff, was quite a big dip, and the chicken tracks weren't as chicken trucky as you would have hoped. So when you get to those areas, I think you've just got to commit to it. So I was a bit concerned, to be honest, and I probably then made Steve a bit more concerned than he started off at. So so that leads us into the next question, which pretty much goes in hand. How did the Colorado and the caravan handle the trip up? I think they were great, weren't they? I think it went well, actually. Both went well. We
had a couple of damages in the caravan. The only damages, well, not really damages, we had loose screws. So we had a couple of the window screws fall out. So you can see the little white plugs here behind me. And we started to notice it because the little plug starts to come out away, and then not long after that the screw comes out. But having said that,
out now because we never got back to fixing it.
Having said that, we probably lost 6 screws?
No, and they seem to be the common same ones that kept coming out. So
in the end, I just give up, and I went and got the Loctite out of the car. I put a bit of Loctite in the screw, put them back in, and they never come back out after that. Yes. So that was good. What else happened in the caravan?
In the caravan, I think the door between the main area and the bathroom.
Oh, yes. So the sliding door that separates the ensuite away from the main living area, they have a tendency to vibrate loose, and I've fixed that, but I'm not going to show you how I fix that, because starting in 2024 I'm going to have a Wednesday night episode on tips, tricks and fixes for caravans. I'm going to show you exactly how I fixed it in one of those episodes. So that was done, and it works perfectly now. And
the other one was some of our drawers did come loose, but to be honest, they weren't 100% perfect when we picked up the van. Yeah. And from talking to other caravan owners who own a variety of caravans, not just our brand of caravan, it's a common topic. It's a common concern.
Everyone we spoke to had lost screws, and just about 99% of those people had them fall out of their drawers, because I don't know what it is with the caravan industry, but they only like to use a screw that big. So it's probably an area the industry really needs to pick up on, improve their game on. So it's quite common, but as Steve said, I think if you just put in the correct screws, everything will be fine. But considering we were on corrugations, I thought it all went well. Went perfectly, didn't it? Other than a few loose, you can't whinge about a few loose screws.
No.
The other thing with the caravan is, as you know, if you haven't seen the tour video, I'm going to drop a link into that, we have our caravan in the bathroom.
We do have it in the bathroom.
Yeah, and it worked perfectly up there, but we still got a little bit of dust in the van, didn't we, Al?
We do. We found there was a little break in the seal in the footwell, so you said you would get underneath and
try and find if I can silicon up. We got some dust in there. I was dropping some footage of what we're talking about, because it didn't actually come through the door.
No, just the little well, and it seems to be, again, when I've seen other people talk about their trips, it's a common area in a lot of caravans. So
Yeah.
this little section.
Yeah, that's right. And the only other bit of damage or something that got loose while we were travelling is on our lithium batteries, one of the terminals come loose, and I'll drop in some footage so you can see what I'm talking about. But the two batteries that join together to make them run in parallel, the two cables that join it together to make them run in parallel, weren't connecting properly.
No.
So we weren't getting a full charge back into our batteries. We'd be out in full sun for the day, and we'd only get 10% back in, and we didn't know what was going on. So a couple of phone calls to Accelerate Off-Grid Touring, and we had it diagnosed and fixed within 5 minutes, didn't we?
Wasn't it just washers that were missing?
Yeah, just need to put a washer in. So and it was done. We've dropped it in, and now it works absolutely perfectly, doesn't it? Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, so that was that. And the Colorado went perfectly fine. I could not complain about the car.
No, it was good. No damage. It travelled well. It handled well.
Yep.
But I think that's also because we drove to conditions, and we slowed down.
Yep, certainly. And the one thing, and I couldn't stress this enough, you need to make sure that your gear is in good nick. You've got to have your car well serviced, whether you have someone do that for you, you do it yourself. You need to make sure your van is in the same condition. When we're up there, because of the roads that we're travelling on, other than the battery, because I had no idea what was going on until I'd spoken to Accelerate about that, every day, walk around, looking underneath, just looking for things that are odd, lift the bonnet, make sure that there's no sign of oil leak or any of those sorts of things under there, just make sure it's in good nick. Every car that we saw broken down on the Cape, all of them were bad maintenance, and Alison's starting to grin a little bit because every one of them, and I'm not biased here, every one of them was a Toyota. And I'm not having to go to Toyota owners because one day we might be one. In fact, we're talking about a 300 series yesterday, but that doesn't mean we're going to go out and buy one immediately.
No, gosh, no.
But we don't have the money for that. But because we like it, but everyone was a Toyota. I don't know whether that was because there's just a lot more of them up there,
probably
on the road. But the ones that we did see broken down, they was just like, they weren't well maintained.
Yeah, they could have been.
You can see just for looking, like they're driving up the road and there's stuff hanging off them while they're driving. So, that's it. So make sure your gear's in good nick, and if you look after it, that's what it tells in the army, it'll look after you.
It's a good saying, isn't it? Yeah,
and
that's true. And there is one other thing I'd like to raise. What other things were lost on the trip, Stephen?
If you are on Thursday Island and you are currently wearing a pair of multifocal glasses, they're mine.
Black? Or if you find them, please contact us.
They're down near the Port Authority somewhere. I haven't seen them since. Anyway, that was done.
There 1 minute, gone the next.
Yes, they were. All right.
It was a bit expensive too. They were a good pair of reading glasses.
They were. Yes, I have yes. Anyway.
Stephen has a track record for losing good reading glasses.
I do. Next question. What spare parts do you carry?
I don't know.
We carry bloody none. That's the long and short of it. I carry a box full of nuts and bolts and screws and stuff.
Yes.
I've got a spare fuel filter if I need to change it over.
Yes.
I took a red sock to put over the top of my snorkel.
And we've got to get another one.
Yeah, and that's it. And then I have my tool kit. Inside that I keep a bit of glue. I keep some silicone. That's pretty much it.
And some tape.
Oh, and some tape, yeah.
And we've got zip ties.
Yeah, we have all those sorts of things. But the one thing that we do have, and this is very important, is we have access to RACQ because we paid for that premium membership, but they'll come and get you from anywhere.
Yeah, I think so. But we did see some RACQ signs.
We certainly did.
Some places I would never have expected to have seen their service sign.
And I'm not a mechanic by any stretch of the imagination, but I can put a band-aid on something that might get us to the next spot.
We hopefully can. Yeah,
but with Starlink, we can always ring RACQ.
Yes, so it was good.
Yep. Final question. What was your favourite place to visit on the Cape? What was yours, Em?
That's a hard question, actually, because
there's so many places.
There's so many amazing places. Like I really enjoyed Fruitbat Falls. It was quite spectacular, and I really enjoyed just spending the afternoon there. Yep. But also being at the tip of Australia, because I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever go. I never even wanted to kind of go to the tip of Australia too. We had a beautiful day the day we went, and we stood there. It was just us and another couple, and it was quite beautiful just watching all the marine life just swimming around. And I'm like looking around thinking, I'm at the edge of Australia, and that's a pretty amazing thing.
And the great thing about the tip is it doesn't reveal itself until the very end. So as you come up and you walk over the top of the I'm going to say feature, as you come over the top of the hill, and you look down, eventually you just see the sign, it's right there. So it's sort of revealing itself all the time, then eventually bang, there it is, it's right there in front of you. It's good to see.
It is.
For me, yeah, I agree, fruit bat was great. I really enjoyed the Daintree. So when we come back down and we done the Bloomfield track and drove through the Daintree forest, that was absolutely
That's
amazing.
just a different type of beautiful.
Yeah. And when you think only 1% of Australia's continent has rainforest on it, and that's pretty much it there. Not all of it, but that's pretty much most of it.
A lot of it.
It's I tell you what, yeah, it's well worth a look.
That's what I mean. Like, it's so hard to pick one. There's so many beautiful parts to the trip, and they're all very different and diverse. So, they were all beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I wanted to go. I'm glad I went.
Yep.
It wasn't what I anticipated.
No, it's not a great adventure, is it?
I don't know what I anticipated. It's quite weird in saying that, making that statement, but I'm glad I've done it.
It is. I think my final thought on the Cape is plan to go where you want to go to and give yourself enough time to see it and to enjoy it.
Yes.
We met so many people on the Cape who'd say to you, I've been planning this trip for 2 years, and they literally run up, they touch the sign, and they shoot back to where they came from. And
it was weird.
We just couldn't understand why.
We were still standing there.
I couldn't understand why, but this is what some say. Give yourself the time, and by doing that, you get to enjoy every aspect of it, all the parts that you want to enjoy.
Yes.
And it just makes it safe for everybody else, because nobody's in a hurry. No one needs to drive at 700 kilometres per hour to get up there. No. You just cruise along, drive the conditions, and just absolutely enjoy what the country's got to offer, because it offers a whole lot when you go up to the Cape.
Yes, and if and when we go back next time, there's a whole lot of other things that we didn't get to see this time.
Yep.
Now, with that knowledge of going the first time, we can make a different plan next time.
But
I think we might go with some friends next time.
Yeah, I think that'll be the way to go.
Yeah.
All right. Fun. Well, I think that's a great note to end this week's episode.
It is.
We really hope that you enjoyed our Cape series. If you missed any of it, I'm going to drop all 5 episodes in the description below. I'll drop the links to those in the description below.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask us about today's episode or any other episode that you watch, we're more than happy to answer. I do look at my socials quite regularly just to see what comes up, and I try and answer people as quickly as I possibly can.
Yes.
And if we don't know the answer to a question, I'm quite happy. I've got time on my hands to sit down and Google it and find out for you. So I'm quite happy to go away and do that for you. That's pretty much it. Yeah,
definitely go back and look at the series, because Australia is so diverse and it's so beautiful, and it's something you can go and see, even if you physically can't go and see. It's quite lovely to watch people's adventures.
That's right. So that's the end of this week's episode. We've pointed the car south and we're starting to make our way back down through Queensland, and that'll sum up, or not quite sum up, we're just about finished in Queensland. We've done 21,000 kilometres of our big lap of Australia yet, and we're about to cross the border and go into a new state.
Not quite yet in the next one, but coming up.
Yeah, coming up we're going to change states. So 21,000 kilometres, and we reckon we've seen a third of Queensland.
I don't think we've even scratched the surface, to be honest.
There you go. All right, you have yourself a great week. We'll see you next week. See you later.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.